Good afternoon, folks. My name is David DeMayo. I'm president of the Munger Construction Company over in Brantford, Connecticut. And I welcome you this afternoon to this presentation on commercial solar in Connecticut. I'm joined by James Schwartz, a principal in the company Independent Solar. He'll have a chance to introduce himself momentarily. Munger Construction Company is a commercial industrial contracting firm, been in business since 1968. I have been with the company for 38 years and nearly 30 years as the president of the company. Again, we're commercial industrial general contractors. And back in 2008, I saw an opportunity to add a complementary service to our business, and that was a solar entity. And the relationship with Independent Solar came about by wanting to partner with a company that was an expert in the solar field and marry that with a company that had good sound construction background. Because at the end of the day, a solar project is really a construction project.
Great, thanks, Dave, and pleasure to be with you all today. My name is James Schwartz. I'm a co-owner of Independent Solar. We've been around since 2007. We focus exclusively on commercial customers. We've completed over 60 commercial installations, which is about 50 megawatts worth of capacity. In addition to developing and building projects, we also maintain our projects that we built for our customers. And almost 100% of the projects that we've built, we still work with our customers and maintain them for them. Our focus is really on doing a quality installation for our customers and having that long-term customer relationship. And that's why it's been great working with Dave and the Munger Construction Company. Together, we've done a number of projects together, and that's been a very successful partnership.
So from the perspective of Munger Construction, we were looking for a solar partner that married our core values, which you folks can find on our website. And that was really important to us. Quality was job one. There's a lot of installations out there that you could tell after a couple of years, the wire management, the PVC piping that's used rather than the metallic piping that we use is starting to degrade from the sun and things of that nature. They're small items, but they start to show their head, a couple of years into the project. And we're building projects that have a life expectancy of 25 to 30 years up in a harsh environment on your roof. So quality and detail is really important. And we found that partnering with Independent Solar, they met our core values, they're quality oriented, and they are very much experts on the engineering and procurement side of the equation. And we bring the construction expertise in, because as I mentioned before, at the end of the day, it's a construction project. We're working on people's roofs. We're working in people's facilities, tying into electrical infrastructure. So having the construction background as part of the equation is really important.
And one of the things that solar projects are fairly complex. And what we try to do in working with Munger is make it simple for the customer. So we're looking at tying it all together, whether it be the engineering and the permitting of it to the financing and obviously the construction and the operation. We kind of make it turnkey to the customer. So take a complex project and make it something that the customer doesn't need to focus on other than understanding the financial benefits for their company.
So real quick, the slide that's up now, folks, is a building located on Interstate 95 as you head into New Haven from East Haven. This is the old post office distribution facility that laid vacant for a number of years. And several years ago, it was purchased by a customer of ours, and we renovated and rehabbed the entire building into a new car dealership, a complete change of use. And the owner was very much tuned into sustainable construction, took advantage of every opportunity that was there to reduce energy costs, to upgrade materials. And at the end of nearly the end of the project, he was so interested in solar that we brought James on board, and I'll let James, talk about the commercial solar advantages and what this particular customer and all our customers take advantage of.
Yeah, in the end of the day, a solar project is a financial investment, and so we'll kind of overview what are the key factors that make it a good investment. First off, the energy that you produce is going to reduce your utility bill. So we have customers with systems that save them anywhere between $20,000 to over $100,000 a year on their energy costs. So substantial savings on the utility costs for the business. Also, because it's a 25-year system, to the extent that utility rates go up over time, you've hedged against that. So if you're supplying 50% or 60% of your energy from the solar system, to the extent that UI or Eversource or wholesale energy rates go up, you're insulated from that. And that can make a big difference over time, especially if we get into a period where energy costs are rising rapidly. Another advantage of solar is that there's significant tax benefits. You can actually, about 50% of the cost of the system, you get refunded in the first year through tax savings, through tax credits and depreciation. So if you have a $100,000 solar system, you actually get $50,000 back on your taxes in the first year the system's installed. So that's substantial. And then something we'll get into a little bit more is that in Connecticut, which is unique to Connecticut, that you actually have the opportunity to get a 15-year contract with the utility so that they pay you additional to your energy savings. They'll pay you for 15 years for producing clean electricity with your solar system. So Luke, we can go to the next slide. Great, thanks. So the two primary Connecticut specific benefits are, one is net metering. What that allows you to do is that you get the full retail value for all the solar electricity you produce. So for example, some of our customers don't operate during the weekends, and you might have a sunny weekend day where you're not consuming a lot of energy on site. You basically get to spin your meter backwards during those times where you're not using it, and then you can use it up when you start your work week back up, or at night, or even some of our customers generate more energy than they need for the whole summer period, and then they use up those excess credits during the winter, and they get the full retail value of it. So if your retail value is 12 cents a kilowatt hour, you basically get that full value. It doesn't matter when you produce the solar. It can be applied to whenever you're actually using it. Net metering has been around since the start of commercial solar in Connecticut, but the state has actually said that it's going to end to new customers starting in 2021. If you get into the program before 2021, you're grandfathered for 20 years, but after 2021, new systems will not be able to take advantage of that. The other component in Connecticut, which I mentioned on the previous slide, was the ZREC, which stands for Zero Emission Renewable Energy Credit. So this is that 15-year contract that you get with whatever utility territory you're in. It's for a fixed price over that 15 years, so there's no variability in it. The key thing in understanding the ZREC is that it's in addition to your energy savings. So going back to our example before, if you save, let's say, $20,000 a year in electricity from your solar project, you might get $15,000 a year in ZREC payments. And so your total revenue from the system is $35,000. So you kind of double dip in terms of being able to save on your energy costs and also get these payments for the renewable energy credits from the solar. In order to get those 15-year contracts, you actually have to put a bid in, and that happens once a year. And that opportunity is coming up in July, and that was the reason for the timing of this webinar, is that if folks are interested, this is a good time to talk about it, because we have the opportunity to go out and secure a ZREC contract for you. And similar to net metering, this program is scheduled to sunset in 2021 to new customers. So if you get into it now, you'll still have your 15 years, but after 2021, they won't be giving out new ZREC contracts. Luke, if you want to go to the next slide. Great. So we'll talk a little bit about the kind of what are the minimum requirements to do a commercial solar project. So you do need some scale to the project. So you need about 15,000 square feet of available roof space. So that means 15,000 square feet, not including any space that's taken up by HVAC units or mechanical units or pipes, or setbacks from the edge. Those kinds of things are not included in there. In terms of the roof condition, the best is if your roof is less than 10 years old. So if it's been replaced, or if you have a new building and it's not yet 10 years old, you typically have 20 or 10 to 20 years left on that roof, and so it's a good fit for solar. Or if you're in need of a roof replacement, it's a great time to do solar, because there's some benefits of combining in terms of cost savings of doing the solar and a new roof at the next time. So if you're looking at, okay, in the next few years we're going to have to replace our roof, that's a really good time to look at solar. And there's also ways of wrapping the financing for the two together that can be beneficial for the property owner. And in terms of your annual or your monthly electric bill, you want to be paying at least $1,500 a month in order to be able to kind of accommodate the solar system. If you want to go next slide. All right, so we'll just do kind of a high level sample project financials. Kind of talking about the what we had talked, the financial benefits of the system. This kind of puts numbers on it. So if you have a system cost of $625,000, which is a large system, your tax credit, which is 26% in the first year, would be $162,000. You also get depreciation savings, and that tends to equal about another 25% of the project cost. So between the tax credit and the depreciation, it's about $300,000 of tax savings in the first year. On an annual basis, your energy savings from a system this size would be about $55,000. Your ZREC payments, which is that addition to your energy savings, would be about $35,000. And you have some operating expenses in terms of insurance and maintenance of the system. So you're looking at $80,000 to $85,000 a year in positive operating profit from the system. So typically we see the system pays itself back even without financing in about 5 to 6 years. You're looking at returns of 10 to 15%, and that's even before you finance it. And there's a number of financing options available if that's of interest. It's the system will last for 25 years, so you have very strong cash flows for a long period of time after the initial upfront investment. We can go next slide. Yeah. All right, so this project here is this is a company called Creed Monarch, located in New Britain. They have a 150,000 square foot manufacturing operation, and you can see they have a big open roof. And it was and because they're manufacturing, energy is a huge cost for them in terms of their operations. So it made a lot of sense to look at solar. So this roof, we installed about 3,000 solar panels. Munger did all the installation work for this system. And I think one of the things that we'll kind of go through a video here that will give you an overview of kind of the scale of the system. And this would certainly be on larger end of projects, but kind of gives you a feel for the scope of the project. And I apologize if the video is a little halting. you can see here that we leave plenty of access paths and access to the roof scenes and mechanical units, but still having, a lot of room to install the solar system. In this case, this building is a standing seam metal roof, which is an ideal attachment surface for solar systems. But we also do a lot of projects that are like flat membrane style roofs as well, and that's a great surface for attachment as well. And each one of these panels has an individual controller on it called an optimizer. So the advantage of that is that it produces the most amount given for any individual panel. If there's any kind of shading or obstructions on it, you get the most out of the system. And as Dave mentioned, it's tough to see from this video, but all the piping that we use is all steel threaded piping, which is really high quality stuff, and will give you an installation that actually will last for 25 years. And working with Munger, that's one of the things that we really share, is that every system should last for 25 years, and that takes a lot of thought and to make sure that you're using the right materials and construction methods to get that kind of outcome.
All right, folks, on this slide that's up now is Bishop's Orchards, located in Guilford, Connecticut. This is a customer of Munger's, nearly 30 years of business with these folks. Great people, great company, a lot of forward thinking from an agricultural perspective. And this is the second solar array that Independent Solar Munger did for the Bishop's family. The first one is over right on the roof of their farm market that you can see directly from Route 1. And this solar array, as you can tell, is a ground mount. And they took a piece of land that really wasn't farmable and turned it into a productive part of their farm and their vision for sustainable farming. So just another example of how we continue to serve our clients, not only on the construction side, but on the solar side. I'll let James talk about the system. James, you still with us? All right, so I'll pick up here. I'm not sure what happened to James. Maybe we lost his link. Obviously, we're in different locations because of COVID-19. This, again, is located in Guilford, Connecticut, ground mount system. And this is a 360 kW system. As I mentioned, the second major project for our customer in terms of solar. And between this ground mount and the system that we have across the street on their farm market, we satisfy about 80% of their annual energy consumption. They have big, compressors and coolers and things of that nature, as you may imagine, keeping their farm market and their produce fresh. So this was a big expense for them, and certainly builds up and helps with their sustainable plan for the farm. Next slide is a quick video of the solar array. We do a lot of layout. We do ground penetrating radar. We do geotech studies to make sure that these systems aren't necessarily heavy, but there's a lot of wind uplift under these systems. And that same goes for when we look at roof analysis. So there's a lot of behind the scenes activity that goes into the construction of this array. You can see we've got fencing around the whole project to keep it safe. And of course, the bishops keep it well mowed. They had to do some clearing of some trees that weren't valuable assets to them, so that we reduced shading on it. Another good opportunity of how we can facilitate a customer's needs with a ground mount solar system.
Sorry about that, James.
You back on, James?
Yeah, sorry about that. Bit of technical difficulty.
I'm gonna lead in on this. This is another Guilford customer of Munger's Biomed Devices. They were recently in the news quite a bit because of their ability to switch medical manufacturing processes from what they were normally doing into actually manufacturing ventilators for COVID-19. So Governor Lamont was down, and they really stepped up their game. But they've been a customer of Munger's for several years, and they came to us with a particular roofing problem, which you'll see in a slide or two, and it refers to what James was talking about, the age of your roof and the condition of your roof. And at the time, their roof was in really poor shape, and this was a great opportunity to introduce them to solar, and they loved the idea, and I'll let James talk about this solar array now.
Yeah, so this system actually provides the entire usage for the building. So we offset 100% of their electrical usage for the year with this solar system. It's about 550 panels on a standing seam roof, which David will go into more. But this is kind of an example of where you have a great match between a big open roof, and in this case, new roof, ideal for solar. And the customer was able to, get significant savings off their electric bill, and then also combine that with the ZREC program, have a really, attractive investment for them.
So, folks, on this slide, you can see on the before picture how in poor condition their metal roof was. It was nearly a 40-year-old building, 40-year-old roof. It was definitely on life support. In some cases, it was very difficult to even walk on safely. And, we did our best to keep them dry inside for a long time. And then finally, we told them that, at the end of the day, here, you guys need a new roof. And so we cost out a new standing seam metal roof system. We have a system that will go right over this roof, so we never expose them to the environment. Did a complete engineering analysis of adding the roof over the existing, as well as the ability to handle PV solar. And the after picture shows you a really good example of a new standing seam metal roof, the racking system that we use that clips to the high rib of the standing seam roof, and the horizontal racks and the PV panels. You can see the metallic conduit, threaded conduits that we use, how neat it is. To each one of those panels, there's PV wire, and it's well maintained. The wire management is well thought out. You don't see wires hanging down that would rub on the roof, and in wind, maybe chafe wiring that would cause a major short of the system. So this is a good example of the kind of quality that we produce as a team.
So we'll kind of talk just a little bit about the process for anyone that's interested in thinking about solar for their property. The first thing we do is we look at the utility bills. We typically only need like one recent utility bill, because on those bills it'll have basically your history over the last 12 months. So we'll take a look at that. What are you paying for your electricity, and how much are you using? We'll take a look at the electrical gear that you have right now, what kind of service you have, what the voltage is, what the ampacity is, what kind of transformer you have on site. And then we'll combine that with a layout of your roof to get a preliminary idea of what size solar system you could accommodate. And given those three factors, how much roof space you have, what your electrical infrastructure is, and how much you're paying for electricity. And then we put together a financial model that gives you an idea of, okay, if we move forward with the solar project, here's what it would look like. At that point, if it's interesting, saying, hey, this is a good investment, this is something that we might want to do, we will work with you on the process of submitting a ZREC application. And depending on whether it either goes to UI or Eversource, depending on which utility you're in, those applications need to be in by July 13th. And it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get all the information together that we need and have the forms ready and the analysis done so that we can submit by that deadline. So this is kind of ideal timing if anyone's interested to start doing that feasibility work, seeing if it's interesting, and then still having enough time to put an application in. The nice thing is that you can get the ZREC award before you actually decide that you want to do the project. So you'd have that in hand and you'd say, okay, I've got my ZREC contract, my 15 years worth of payments are locked in before you actually have to commit any, to actually moving forward with the investment. This solicitation that's coming up that is due by July, the utilities will let people know whether they've been awarded a contract by August or September. And if so, you have a couple of years to complete a project. And so depending on whether you want to try to get it in this year and take advantage of the tax credits in 2020, or whether it's more of a longer term project, you have a lot of flexibility on how quickly you actually move forward with it once the ZREC's in hand.
Just to add, during this process, we also would have completed a roof analysis for you, just to help understand the age and the condition of the roof, and if any repairs or maybe replacement should be considered. And we also would have performed a structural analysis to determine that the structure of the building can handle the weight, which isn't substantial, but there's a tremendous amount of wind uplift, as you may imagine, wind getting up under these panels. So that's all analyzed. And in the case of a membrane style roof, we would be using a ballasted racking system, so we wouldn't be penetrating the roof membrane. So that's adding ballast in a lot of cases is a concrete block laid out in specially designed pans that the racking system is attached to. So that adds a substantial amount of weight. So we would have done all these analysis up front so that you knew exactly that your building could handle it, and you knew if there's any costs associated with any of those items, you know exactly what those would be. So you'd have a good, clear picture of your costs and your payback. Folks, this is going to be probably the last slide we talk about. So this would be a great time if you wanted to start sending in your questions. So we had some in front of us as I completed this slide. Thought I'd take a minute or two and kind of talk you through the construction process, because that's really at the end of the day what this is. Once you folks are committed and we're ready to roll, James is completed completes all his engineering documents. We file for the appropriate permits with the local municipality and have our building permit in hand to proceed. We then set this up as our standard construction project. We will assign a construction manager and project superintendent to the project. We'll have a pre-construction meeting. James's team will be there, Munger's team, the owner. We'll look at things, where is our storage area is going to be for the panels when they come in, our material and tools storage trailer, setting up that kind of ground infrastructure. We'll look at the safest location to place our crane or other boom lift equipment so that we can access the roof safely. Our Munger's safety coordinator would be part of that meeting as well. We would plan our edge protection, railings, and things of that nature so that we have a complete, secure, and safe environment to work in for not only our workers, but also your employees. We would then go through the process of actually laying out on the roof. We do a pre-roof inspection, done prior already, but to give you a little more information, we actually walk the entire roof. We note any deficiencies if there are any. We identify them in a document, and at the end of the project, we refer to that document if there's any any damage that we may have caused. When you're handling metal, especially on a membrane roof, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to drop a tool. Somebody's going to drop something. There's going to be a penetration that we go back and we fix and repair so that we leave the roof in the same or better condition than what it was when we started our work on it. There's a lot of layout that's done to make sure that the panels are square and the grid is well laid out, that the work paths are laid out. We install if it's a metal roof, we're installing a device called an S5 clip, which is specifically designed to fasten racking systems to the high standing seam of the metal roof. Racking is all installed. Every bolt and fastener that's part of the solar installation has a specific torque setting that we have to achieve. We have torque wrenches and testing that goes on to make sure that everything is torqued properly, installed properly. And then we work in conjunction with Independent Solar's electrical crew. As we lay panels, they're doing the wire connections and the wire management behind us. They're upgrading the electrical system and making the appropriate breaker installations into the electrical system, setting up for the ZREC meter that's going to be installed by the utility companies. This process is going hand in hand in a very safe and clean and neat environment. And at the end, as we get to the end, there's testing and commissioning that James's team does, very thorough testing and commissioning of the system. And then they do the closeout and invite the utility company in and the local municipality in to inspect and approve the system to bring it online. We do James's team does a full closeout post-construction meeting with the owner, so you understand the means and methods of the system. It's really very much a benign system. There's nothing for you to do in terms of turning it on or off or moving parts. James offers data collection systems, and we can install a monitor in your lobby or someplace in your facility where you can show the public real-time actual production and past production of your system. It's kind of a neat talking point when people walk into your lobby to see a lot of these systems you wouldn't even know are on buildings because of their flat roof buildings. When you walk in the lobby and you get to see a monitor set up and you see that the real-time production of the solar system, it's pretty cool and pretty neat to see. And then if you're so inclined, and it's certainly advisable, you enter into a maintenance contract with James's team. They'll come out once a year. They'll do a complete walk of the roof and the systems. They'll make sure the wire management's in good place, that there aren't any damaged panels. And they offer full-time modern. They monitor your system all the time, so they'll know, immediately if a panel goes offline for some reason, and they'll dispatch a technician to your facility, and they'll know exactly what panel is not producing. So it's not a kind of a wild goose chase. That's what's nice about the optimizer systems that James talked about earlier, is that the technology today, we can pinpoint a problem right down to the panel. So it's real quick and easy to discover if there's any kind of an issue. So that's really the process. It's very detailed, very organized, very safe, and we'd love the opportunity to be part of your team if you were to choose to do solar. We're going to look for questions now. Okay, first question is up, and I'm going to let James handle this. Is there financing available, and who is your financing partner? James, you
Yeah,
want
there's a lot of different financing options. So it depends on how you want to structure it. Oftentimes, there's a lot of local banks in Connecticut that this is now the 9th year of the ZREC system, of the ZREC program. And so they're very familiar with the ZRECs and the security of the 15-year payments. So a lot of the banks that we work with in Connecticut are actively looking for potential customers who want to finance their solar projects once they've gotten a ZREC. Some of you might be familiar with the CPACE program, which is run by the Connecticut Green Bank. There you can actually get financing terms of up to 25 years for your solar system, so you can spread out the payments over a much longer period of time and have more cash flow. And there's even more options beyond that. So many financing options to choose from, and really the question is, how does that fit with what you're looking to do, and how does that fit with your company?
There's just one thing I wanted to add, not to the financing end of it, but James touched on this early on about if your roof is ready for replacement at the time you're thinking about solar. There are ways to roll part of the roofing cost into the solar project to help with financing and also take advantage of some tax credits. So again, just to kind of reinforce that, if your roof is tender and in need of some kind of major repair or replacement, that don't automatically assume that it takes you out of the solar market. Another question come in.
It actually, Dave, just building on your point there, that it actually makes it a great candidate if you actively need a new roof, or within the next couple of years. It's actually the ideal time, I think, to look for at adding solar.
And James, you may want to handle this next question, and it related to what percentage of a roof repair or re-roof cost with solar can be included in the tax credit?
Yeah, that's something I couldn't give you a number on in terms of every case is different. It just depends on the nature of what the repairs are or the prep work that needs to be done.
All right, folks, I don't see any other questions up there. That either means that James and I did a really great job, or we bored you to death and you're not there anymore. We're going to think the first. I'm going to let Luke close off with another repeat of his email. So if you'd like to reach out to us, and on behalf of Munger Construction, I really thank you folks for your time this afternoon. I sincerely hope that you're all healthy and well, and your businesses, if they had been impacted, are starting to come back online, and wish you all the best.